this is going to show you how you are going to create your iBook. The easiest way to launch iBook Author is to go up here to the Finder, the Spotlight, and you're going to type in iBooks. And there it is right there. So then all you have to do is double click on it, and this is going to launch the program for us. Now it's asking us to choose a template. I'm going to choose this one. It's basic. So it's already selected. Then you go down here and click on Choose. Now what you see coming up is an example for you of what you can work through in your book. It has it begun and laid out for you. Chapter 1, Section 1, and then a page. Now you don't have to do this if you don't want. If you decide you want to get rid of a chapter, you can just go ahead and delete it. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to name this. So we're going to go up to File, we're going to click on Save, and you're going to title this. The best thing would be to title it with the book that you want to call it, or obviously the title of your book. I'm going to title this as Sample. Save it to the desktop, that's perfect, and you're going to click Save. Now what you need to understand when you are working on this is it's very similar to working with iMovie in that you do not have to keep hitting save. I want you to look up here where it says Sample right now. If I click on this and I type, let me type here, I'm going to say Chapter 2. See how it says edited now? This is telling me that it has been changed and it is saved. Now let's say I didn't like what I did. I can always go up to Edit, Undo Typing, and get it back to where I wanted it to be. Alright, so let's say I want to change this right here. Then I could just go ahead and I could click in it, and I could highlight it, and I could say, this is my book. Whatever you want to call this book. Alright, so this is basically your layout. This is your main setting. Let's look at these things here. The first one is book title. This is going to be your front page of your book. So if you want to change any pictures, this is where you can change it. You want to make sure you put your title right here, who the authors are here or down here. Next one is if you want to drop any intro media. This is completely up to you if you decide you want to do this. Most of your projects probably aren't going to have some intro media, although you could place like a little book trailer here, basically talking about your book. Table of contents. This is somewhere that I messed up when I was doing my sample, which I will show you. I messed this up because I was playing around with page layouts and not following the sequential order that iBooks has set up for you. So when I show you my sample, you'll see that this page is messed up for me. And here's a glossary. And I know for some of your projects you're going to be required to do a glossary, so I will make sure to show you how to do that. So these are your pages. If you want to start another chapter, you would want to go up to Add Pages. And it's going to ask you, do you want to start a chapter? Do you want to add a section? Or do you want to just add pages? As you notice, each one of these has a different one that you could go ahead and select, a different layout that you can select. So basically, you are all ready to go. Now, when you are ready to create your iBook, make sure that all the parts you want to put into your iBook are complete on their own. For example, I had text that I wanted to put in. I had an audio recording I wanted to put in. And so I had those all ready to go. If you have a keynote or if you have a movie, something like that you want to put in, make sure it is already done before you start. Let's say we're ready now. One thing that you need to be aware of is that before you start adding any content into this, like I mentioned, you need to have all your things ready. But most importantly, you need to have your text set before you start adding any photo galleries or anything specific like that. So I've got my text for my book right here. And as you can see, I've got my little title and I've got an introduction, and then I have 3 parts to it: the environment, ecology, and our health. And then I've got a last part, to eat or not to eat. So I've got this divided up. Those are not going to be long enough for chapters though. So my book really is not going to have chapters. My book is just going to be, I suppose you could say it's just going to be one chapter. So I'm not going to worry about this extra page right here. I already know I'm not going to need it. So I'm just going to hit delete. I'm getting rid of that. So I know that I'm basically going to have 4 sections to this. I'm going to have an introduction here, and then I'm going to have 4 sections. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy and paste this information in here. So I'm just going to take this right here, and I'm going to copy my first part. And you can do that by doing Command C. Then I'm going to come over here, and I'm simply going to click on this, double click on it. I'm going to do Command V, and there I have my first sentences. Now, if we look down, if we look here, we see it did not come through the rest of it. If you notice what I wanted to, when I copied it, there was a lot more wording than this. So that tells me I need to add a page. I don't want to add a section, because if I add a section, it's going to go into my table of contents. All right? I want to add a page, because this is just my very beginning part. I just want to add a page. So I'm going to go up here to my add a page. I'm just going to simply add a page. I'm going to click on default, which is 2 columns. So I'm going to click on that. So I have now just added a page. Now here's where I can add the rest of my words in. So if I go up here, I see that I ended with focus turned toward, I believe the word is. So on my page right here, I'm just going to highlight this. I'm going to do Command V, which is paste again. So if I see this, I realize toward, this is the word that got cut off. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this. And this is the rest of my wording. Now, I can decide to do something separate over here in this column. Maybe I want to have some pictures or something of that impact. But I know for right here, I'm good. I'm done with my words. Let's move on to our next part. So I know that this is my intro, and now I'm ready to start working on my sections to add my text, because remember, we're going to add our text first, and then we can go back and we can make any embellishments we want. So I'm going to go ahead and click on section 1 because they already have it set up for me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull that page up. Now I'm ready. If I go back and look at my text that I have prepared for my book, which I just typed up in Word. You can type up in anything you want. I see I've called this section the environment, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to click back over here. I'm going to title my section 1, the environment. So I have the environment up now. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to delete, I'm going to copy and paste in my words. I can play around with how large the text is by coming over here. Let's say I want to make it 18. And then obviously if I want to put a tab in here, I can go ahead and do an indent for a paragraph. So this is my first section. Now, if I want to do another section, all I have to do is go to Add Pages, Section, and I can pick a section. I'm going to go ahead and pick this one again. So I've just added Section 2. For Section 2, I know it's going to be called Ecology, so I can put that in. So here we are at Table of Contents, and it still says Untitled, Untitled. So what the heck? But I went ahead and I titled this. See, it says the environment. If you click right here, you actually click on the word untitled, and then you delete that out, and you type in environment, and you click here on untitled, just a single click, and then you type ecology. Then when you go up to Table of Contents, it has it. So that's how you add sections to your book. Now, if you notice, both of these sections look the same. This one I've added text into, this one I haven't. Great thing is, this little box right here, you could scoot over here, you could delete this text box, get rid of it, See how it's still got the faint lines there? So it's because it's underneath that text box. So we have to make sure if you're having any trouble and you're like, but I don't understand why it's not coming up, that's because it's actually keeping that text box right there. And if we scoot this text box, see how I've moved that text box now over to here? So now we should be able to take this and we can manipulate this box. Remember, don't leave any of these fill-ins in here. You have to make sure if you don't want them that you go through and you delete out all of these little pieces that have the fill-in words in them if you don't want them. Remember, when you're done working on your iBook for the day, you do not have to save it again. So it's a little scary, but when you're done, all you have to do is click the close button and you're ready to move on when you come back the next day.